Out here, the truth bleeds. And what stained Thorne Whitmore's fence that morning wasn't just blood, it was a warning. Thorne Whitmore found her slumped against his fence, dress torn, blood soaking through the fabric. She didn't move, just laid there like the wind had finally knocked her down. His rifle hung loose in his hands. 30 feet stood between them, but it felt like a canyon. She looked young, no older than 30. Dirt in her hair, blood on her side. She hadn't seen him yet, but he saw everything. His first thought was to turn back, leave her. Trouble had a way of sticking to people like that. And trouble was the last thing Thorne wanted. That's why he lived out here. No neighbors, no visitors, no stories. But then she stirred. A sound, faint, broken, almost like a child, escaped her lips. He stepped forward before he even knew why. Her eyes opened when his shadow crossed her. Green eyes, sharp through the pain, and in them, something desperate. Something that looked a lot like the man he used to be. "Who's coming?" he asked, voice low, eyes on the horizon. She winced, tried to sit straighter. Men. From Deadrock Canyon. They've been tracking me since yesterday. Thorne knew Deadrock. Silver and shadows. The kind of place where questions died before they were asked. "What did you do?" he asked. She didn't answer right away, just stared at the dust like it held all her sins. "Then, I saw them kill a family, the Hendersons. I was there to buy supplies. Wrong place, wrong time." Her hands pressed tighter against her wound. She was scared, not of him, but of what followed her. Hoofbeats, distant but steady. 4 riders, fast. She tried to stand, failed. "Please," she whispered. "I don't want to bring you trouble. Just point me to water. I'll keep running." But it was too late for that. They were already coming. And Thorne Whitmore was already part of this. Whether he liked it or not. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded, barely. "My name's Sarah Caldwell," she said. He wrapped an arm around her. "Sarah," he said, "we're going underground." And just like that, after 12 quiet years, Thorne found himself carrying trouble straight into his home, and not once did he think of letting her go. The root cellar sat beneath his kitchen floor, hidden under a heavy trapdoor and a worn rug no one ever noticed. Thorne had always thought of it as insurance, a place to disappear if the past ever caught up. He never imagined hiding someone else there. He set Sarah down gently and pulled open the trapdoor. She peered into the darkness, breathing hard. "There's water. Bandages. Stay quiet no matter what you hear," he said. She grabbed his wrist. "Why are you helping me?" "Sevens." Her voice wasn't suspicious, just confused, like she couldn't remember the last time someone offered help without a price. "Maybe I know what it's like," Thorne said, "to run from something you can't fight." "Sevens." He closed the trapdoor and pulled the rug back over it just as the hoofbeats drew close, louder now, pounding against the ground like war drums. Thorne checked his rifle, exhaled once, and stepped to the window. Dust rose on the ridge. 4 riders, just like she'd said. They came hard and fast. Men with cold eyes and harder faces. The leader rode tall, scar from jaw to ear, eyes like cut stone. He raised a hand, halting the group about 50 yards out. "You Whitmore?" he called. Thorne stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. Calm, but not welcoming. "Depends who's asking." "Sevens, Cain Murdoch," the man said. "We're tracking a woman. Dangerous criminal. You seen anyone?" "Sevens." There it was. The moment of decision. Murdoch's boots left tracks in the dust, and Thorne's heart thudded against his ribs. "You mind if we take a look around?" Murdoch asked, voice all sweetness and threat. It wasn't a question. Not really. Thorne knew it the moment he saw how the man's fingers hovered near his gun, and how the others fanned out just far enough to get clean shots. Free country, Thorne told himself. He gave a tight nod. Sure, just don't spook the cattle. But as Murdoch stepped up the porch stairs, Thorne saw it blood, dried dark against the weathered fence post. And Murdoch saw it too. "Funny thing," Cain said. "We followed her trail right to your line. And that blood. She was hurt bad. No way she just vanished." Thorne stayed calm. "Could be from a coyote. They run through here. Things with teeth." Murdoch's grin spread slowly. "Sure. Or maybe you're keeping secrets, Whitmore." Then Murdoch did it. Stepped onto the porch without permission. And just like that, Thorne felt the old line inside him snap. He raised his rifle slightly. Not enough to aim. Just enough to say, "Stop." "I'd rather you didn't," he said. Murdoch's eyes narrowed. Wasn't asking. His men moved closer. Not obvious, but practiced. Efficient. They'd done this before. Then hoofbeats again. Not the four. A fifth rider, fast, coming from the east. Everyone turned. Dust rose on the ridge. A young man on a lathered horse rode hard, eyes wide with urgency. "Cain," the rider shouted. "We got trouble. Back in Deadrock. Sheriff sniffing around the Henderson place." Someone tipped him off. Murdoch's face darkened. "What kind of trouble?" "The kind that ends with rope." The rider's gaze flicked to Thorne, then back. "We gotta go. Now." Thorne almost felt relief. Almost. But Murdoch's eyes dropped to the porch steps and the faint droplets of blood leading to his door. "Curtis?" he called to the tracker. "What do you see?" Curtis didn't hesitate. "Trail leads to the house. She's here." The words landed like thunder. Thorne's lie was dead. And now, 4 armed men stood between him and the woman he'd sworn to protect. Thorne looked him dead in the eye and lied. "Haven't seen a soul in weeks. Gets lonely out here. That's how I like it." Murdoch didn't blink. His eyes scanned the property, measuring, calculating. Then he dismounted. The way his hand rested near his gun said it all. This man had killed before, and he'd kill again. The others spread out, slow and casual, but Thorne recognized the formation. He'd used it himself, once, back when he wore a uniform and did the kind of things he now tried not to remember. Murdoch's boots hit the ground, heavy with red clay. Thorne noticed it instantly. That clay only came from one place in this territory, the Henderson land near Deadrock Canyon. And just like that, Sarah's story was no longer just a tale. It was truth. And death was already at his door. "Bring her out," Murdoch said. "Do it now, and maybe we'll make this quick." But Thorne wasn't moving. Something inside him, something old, trained, and dangerous, woke up again. His 12 years of silence didn't vanish. They cracked. His rifle rose. Not slow, not hesitant. Curtis, the tracker, didn't even finish drawing his gun before Thorne fired. The shot echoed like thunder off canyon walls. Curtis dropped without a sound. Everything stopped. For a breath. A beat. Then it broke. Bullets tore the porch railing apart as Murdoch dove behind his horse. The other 2 men scattered, one to the trough, the other to the barn wall. Thorne moved on instinct. Recoil, reload, fire. Like he'd never left the war. And just like that, the ranch became a battlefield. The young messenger, he ran, rode his horse hard back toward the ridge. Oh, smart kid. Murdoch reappeared, pistol blazing. Thorne dove behind his heavy bench. Wood splintered, air filled with dust. He counted shots, heard one pause, maybe a reload, maybe a trick. Then from below, the trapdoor creaked. "No!" he shouted. Too late. Sarah climbed up, pale, wounded, but holding his spare Colt. Her voice shook, but her hands didn't. "They killed a little girl," she whispered. "Sarah Henderson. She was only 8. That did it." This wasn't just defense now. It was justice. "How many rounds?" Thorne asked. 5. I've got 3 left." Not enough. Not for a fair fight. But then he remembered what sat in the barn old dynamite, meant for clearing tree stumps. Dangerous, but effective. He looked at her, this woman who could have stayed hidden, who chose to fight. "Can you keep their heads down for 2 minutes?" he asked. She nodded. "Then let's end this." "For Sarah Henderson," Thorne muttered and sprinted. The 30 yards to the barn felt like miles. Sarah fired from the porch, her shots sharp and steady, each one a gift of seconds. But seconds bleed fast when bullets fly. A round screamed past his ear. Another punched dirt by his boot. He hit the barn door with his shoulder, tumbled inside. Dust, hay, shadows. His hands moved like memory straight to the wooden crate marked with a skull and crossbones. Dynamite. 2 sticks. Fuses still good. Behind him, another shot ripped through the wall. Splinters rained across his shoulders. He struck a match, lit the fuse. It hissed. Time began to vanish. He sprinted back, fuse burning in his hand. Sarah was still alive, barely. Blood ran down her arm, but her eyes locked onto him, steady and clear. She saw the dynamite. Nodded. She understood. Murdoch's voice rang out. "Sevens, give it up. Whitmore, you're outgunned and outmanned. Send the girl out. Maybe I'll let you live." Thorne didn't answer. He hurled the dynamite. It spun through the air, a tiny spark trailing behind like a falling star. It landed behind the water trough, right where 2 of Murdoch's men hid. Boom! The earth shook. Fire, dirt, and fury exploded skyward. When the dust cleared, 1 man lay still. The other crawled, dazed and bleeding. But Murdoch, he'd used the chaos to advance. Now he was at the porch, his gun pointed straight at Sarah's head. "Drop it, Whitmore," he snarled, "or I paint your porch with her brains." 30 feet. That's all that stood between Murdoch's pistol and Sarah's forehead. "Drop it," he barked. "Now." Thorne froze. If he moved, Murdoch would fire. If he hesitated, she'd die. Sarah didn't beg. She looked at Thorne and whispered, "Don't let him win." There wasn't fear in her voice. Just peace. The kind a person makes when they've already accepted death. But Thorne wasn't done fighting, because in his left hand behind his back burned the fuse of the 2nd stick of dynamite. Still lit. Still hissing. He had 3 seconds. Thorne tossed the dynamite low. It rolled, right to Murdoch's feet. Cain looked down. His eyes went wide. He had no time. He dove sideways too slow. The blast lifted him off the ground. His gun flew. His body slammed into the dirt. When the smoke cleared, the porch was a mess of splinters. Murdoch lay still, broken. Sarah blinked. Still alive. Thorne dropped his rifle. not out of relief. Just wait. The ranch was quiet again, but not peaceful. One of the gunmen had vanished, probably running all the way to Deadrock. Sarah looked up at him, bloodied but breathing. "Is it over?" she asked. Thorne looked around at the ruin, at the silence, at her. "Yeah," he said. "It's over." 3 days passed. Sarah stayed, her wounds slowly healing. Thorne rebuilt the porch, one board at a time. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was earned. On the third morning, dust rose again on the ridge. But this time, it wasn't killers. It was Sheriff Morrison, riding with a small posse. He was a good man in a hard land. Honest. Steady. The kind of law you rarely saw in places like this. Thorne met him with his rifle slung but unloaded. They talked, walked the property, showed him the bodies, the scattered gear, the remnants of violence. Morrison said little, but his eyes said enough. Murdoch was carrying dynamite, Thorne said, handing over the last stick. The sheriff studied it. "Looks like the Hendersons found something real. Silver claim, maybe." Murdoch wanted it bad enough to kill a family. Then Morrison turned to Sarah. "You willing to testify?" She didn't hesitate. "Every word. For Sarah Henderson." He nodded, like he respected her more for saying it without blinking. Then he looked at Thorne. "You've got a past, Whitmore. War stories. Some folks wondered why you vanished. Guess they'll have their answer now." Thorne paused in his woodwork. Sometimes a man needs peace before he can make it for others. The sheriff gave a tight smile. "Well, you made it here. Word's already spreading. Some folks might ride by just to shake your hand." That thought, visitors. People should have unsettled Thorne. But he glanced at Sarah, sitting in the sun with a blanket across her lap, and felt something shift in his chest. After the posse left, he sat beside her. "You could leave," he said quietly. "Start fresh. Sheriff offered to escort you to Denver." She didn't answer right away. "Just watch the cattle moving across golden pasture. Then, and you, same as always. Work the ranch, feed the cattle." He hesitated. "Though, this place could use a woman's touch. And maybe extra hands." She smiled softly. "You offering me a job, Thorne Whitmore? I'm offering you a home." Well, 6 months passed. Travelers spoke in hushed tones about a ranch deep in the hills, a quiet place where a scarred man and a green-eyed woman built something new from the ashes of violence. They raised cattle, planted wildflowers. Sometimes, they even laughed. Sarah stayed. Not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she chose to stay. Chose him. Thorne built a second room onto the house. She picked the curtains. He never said it, but every nail he drove into that wall was an anchor, a promise that he wasn't going anywhere either. And slowly, the ghosts faded. Thorne kept his rifle cleaned. Not because he expected another fight, but because some peace is earned. And once earned, you don't forget how you got it. They never spoke of the day when blood on the fence post changed everything. They didn't need to. Every morning, Sarah would pour coffee. Thorne would feed the cattle. They'd nod at each other like two people who'd seen the end and decided to live anyway. Sometimes, justice comes with a badge. Sometimes, it comes with a man willing to risk everything for a stranger. And sometimes, the best things in life begin when you open your door not to danger, Evans, but to someone who needs a place to heal.